Yeah.
I've actually like done rapport building with people and they're like, "Are you just asking me that because you have to?" Like, "Yes, I am."
Let's pivot and let's do your I'd love to hear, your script, right? So you got a booked appointment. I'm not gonna role play with you because I always end up screwing it up and making a joke out of it or trying to never mind. But see, I did it right there. But I would love if you would just kind of how does Mara take control 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and what does that first, few minutes look like on a phone call with you?
So I always get people that make fun of me for this because they say I'm mean, not clients, but like when people hear me present, because I'm very to the point. I'm not someone who calls like, "Hey, how's your day? What's going on?" I'm very like into it as soon as I get on the phone. So when I call someone, it's like ring ring, "Hey, is this so and so?" Yes. Okay. How are you doing today? Let me just pull up your information. I just take a quick read over it, and I jump right into, okay, so my name's Mara. I'm an insurance broker for the state of blah blah blah. Basically what that means for you is I work with this many companies. That essentially means anything in the state that's considered A plus rated, I'm going to have access to. So I have a very good variety of carriers to give you your cheapest option. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about your mortgage or, what you're looking to cover if it's a final expense product. And then I'm going to ask you a couple health questions, and then I'm going to see what companies we have that I feel is going to be cheapest for you. And I'm going to say, like, within under 2 minutes, I have all of that done and I'm already into a presentation. So, like, within 30 seconds of being on the phone, it's a very short, like, "Hey, how are you doing? Do you know why I'm calling you?" Because sometimes, you always get some people that don't remember their appointment or what's going on. And then I just jump right into, this is what who I am, what I do. This is what we're going to do today. Do you have any questions before I start? So it's no, it's very cut and dry. I'm not like here to be your best friend.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of people get lost in rapport building, wanting to be friendly with the clients. And to me, I feel like that opens the door for too much comfortability where they're a little too comfortable being like, nah, I want to wait. Like, I just like to assert myself as confident in charge and I'm the financial professional and we are doing this and this is what we're doing. So I feel like the rapport building can kind of counteract that, or also it makes you look a little phony, I guess is a good way to say it because how's your day going? How's the weather? They know you don't care.
Yeah.
I've actually like done rapport building with people and they're like, "Are you just asking me that because you have to?" Like, yes, I am. So, I kind of just cut all of that and jump right into it.
I think the way you're saying it is how I learned it is people don't buy from friends. Otherwise, they would have already
Yes.
bought from their friend because they might know someone that does insurance, but they filled out a lead card because they don't want to buy from their friend. So don't be their friend, be their broker. Right. I love how you do that. Now is I got a couple questions there. Is cheapest you always your kind of hook? Like instead of like trying to go, so you said it twice, and I didn't know if that's kind of like you lay that in because you found that people, I mean, ideally, if I'm buying something, I would like the best price. And so, if because I don't hear most people say cheapest before, and is that something that you find kind of creates value, and then you use it later in your presentation?
Yes, I always say people later on because I will give options once I get out there because we do have products that we prefer that are a little more expensive most times. So I will give them that option of like, do you want the cheapest or do you want quality? But I'm going to show you your cheapest.
Okay.
I always like to say that because a lot of people tend to want the best price and they want to hear the best price. So if you're just kind of like, this is what I think you should do, and don't explain like this is your cheapest option. I have access to all these companies. It opens up the, oh, I want to look around. I want to check a couple other places, see what they have to offer. So I always hit with cheapest and then I'll kind of re-explain later. But as soon as they hear cheapest, they're cool. That's what they want to know.
You're not going to go if you even when you're done, and it was 275 a month. She said cheapest 4 times on that call, subliminally, with them without even thinking about it. Well, this is the best priced option so far, and I chose the options I wanted. So you're almost subliminally knocking out future objections of them even wanting to shop around after they're off the phone with you. That's fantastic. I meant to ask this. Dialer books the appointment for you for tomorrow at 10 o'clock. What is the touch points between then and now? Does the dialer send a text? Is it an email? Are you sending a text or an email before? Like, what's that sort of touch point process leading up to when you call them at 10 o'clock?
So if I booked an appointment, let's say at some point today, and it's for 10 p.m. tomorrow, they are going to get hit with, as soon as they book the appointment, my dialer sends over a recap with my business card, my name, the phone number I'm calling from,
In
what
text?
the appointment is for. Yes.
Okay.
I find text being more effective than email. And then I also give them the option, or when they're being booked, they have the option to write down my information as well. And then the morning of, they get a reminder text message from my dialer. And then typically, depending on what time it is, if it's in the morning, they just get the morning text. If it's later in the day, I usually will personally text them an hour prior or somewhere within a couple hours before and just say, hey, I'm going to be calling you. This is my number. If you need anything, let me know. And that's it. So they're pretty much getting at least three notifications from when they set down the phone.
Got it. Which elevates professionalism. So it's picture your business card, and then do you use like a verified producer type website, anything like that, or just
So I don't. I actually took it upon myself to save all, because I'm licensed in all 50 states. I have all 50 of my licenses saved to a file on my computer, and I just sent that over because I have had experience with people where they're like, no, I don't want your business card. I don't want this. I want your state license. I want to see that you're licensed in that state. So I just feel like if you send that, there, what else are you going to ask for at that point?
yeah. I mean, it gets difficult. It doesn't get better than that. I don't I'm not on
Yeah.
camera making up fake licenses, Betty. Okay. So because then they can go look it up too, because the website's on there and your number, if they chose to do so, and if they chose to do so, they'd see it. So okay,
Yes.
so that's awesome. So we get into it. Now it's very, very direct up front. Any questions you ask throughout the presentation or throughout the information gathering, whether it's health or anything you're doing to help, like, oh, like they say, oh, I take high blood pressure. Oh, I don't know if we can get you covered now, but I'll do my best. Like any little like nuances you do like that to help evolve, raise your professionalism, but also kind of knock out the chance that they're going to go shop around.
Um, So, like I said, my presentation where I start is like, I'm going to ask you all these health questions. I'm going to ask you what you're looking to cover. And then, based on all of that information, I'm going to take that all into consideration and then pull the company that I think is going to be best for you. And then we'll kind of figure out a coverage amount that suits what you're trying to accomplish. So I don't say anything like, oh, that's tricky. I mean, it depends if it's like a cancer or something like that. I'm like, just being perfectly honest with you, there are some companies that won't take that condition. I'm already accounting for those health conditions in the rates I'm about to give you. So these companies should ideally be qualifying you. I always say should because you always get people that forget to tell you something, something else pops up. So I just say, based on my best educated guess, the company I think we should start with is this. Let's start with, this amount of coverage. What does that sound like to you? We can adjust from there. So I do kind of let them know, like, I just took all of that medical information you gave me and I'm giving you a rate based on what you just told me. So yes, in a way.
Got it. Now what how do you show numbers? How do you do that part? Okay, Betty, I've got a few options for I've got an option for you. What does that look like?
So that's something that I feel like I do very differently than most people. I don't do three options. I think three options opens the door to too much information and I want to think about it. So it all kind of flows into, you told me, let's say it's final expense. Okay, so you told me when I asked you my initial questions, all your health, and you told me I want to cover my cremation and I want to leave some extra money for my kid. I say, okay, I try to account, cremation's pretty cheap, but I also try to account for inflation, what it's going to cost 20 plus years from now to kind of give them an idea of like a little more a higher coverage amount. And then anything extra on top of that, let's say 10,000 is just being left for your family. So let's start with, I'm going to give you a $20,000 option first. You tell me what that sounds like and I can adjust from there. If it doesn't fit your budget, we can go down. Obviously if you want to leave more money for your family, let's go up. 20,000 is $100 a month. Does that sound reasonable or should we adjust? And then oftentimes from there, I get people like, oh, what's 30,000? I'm just curious. And then usually if they ask me for more, I can be like, oh, that was too expensive. Well, what about this 25 since you sounded like you wanted more? So I do try to push them up. But if I say like, here's 10, 20, 30, it's very like, well, I don't know. Like,
Got it.
let me write that down and get back to you. So I try to avoid that.
Reasonable or adjust. Not go down, adjust. Adjust up,
Yes.
adjust down. It's perfect. It's so good. Now at the beginning, how are you asking their income?
So I actually don't ask their income. I just ask, are you employed, retired, or disability? That gives me a good idea
Okay.
of what kind of income bracket they're in. I am someone who firmly believes in not doing like and this may be a little controversial, but I don't do like the inventory sheet, the financial inventory just because I feel like there's a lot of people just every day that we talk to, it's 90% of them that are living paycheck to paycheck. If you sit down with them and tell them to break down their budget and you show them to their face, like, wow, you actually can afford life insurance, like, or like you can only afford $20 a month. Like if it's something they really want, they're going to make it work. They know their budget better than you do and how they live month to month, how they pay their bills, when they pay them. So I'm very like, does that work for you? Does that make sense? But I do try to pick a number based on like where I feel like they're falling on the spectrum. I'm not going to show something right off the bat of 150 bucks to someone on disability or unemployment. They'll kind of guide you a little bit in which way they need to go based on how important it is to them, what they really want to cover. So I try not to do those things just to avoid like almost making them say out loud, like, wow, I really don't have extra money to be doing this right now. I should probably wait.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Um, so I'm Betty. I go perfect 25,000, 125 a month. I think we can make that work. What are your next words? Where are we going from there?
Okay, so I'm like, perfect. What I'm gonna do next is, is this your cell phone we're talking on? Yes. Okay. Usually I already know that, but I always ask, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shoot you over again. Excuse me, I just got hiccups. Uh, a copy of my business card and my badge, just so you have it. I always say to people, there's a lot of weird things going on these days, unfortunately, with scams and things. So I like you to have my information so you know who you're talking to. They always really appreciate that. And, they always go into a story about, yeah, I had my bank account hacked or something where they just feel a little more comfortable. So I'm like right at the application, I'm setting them up to be comfortable. And then I say, okay, so it takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to do an application. You said you're good with the 125 a month. I think the company we should start with is Aetna. That just sounds to be the best for you. Let's do that application. I should know by the end of it if you're approved. Sometimes it takes a couple days in underwriting, if not, and then we'll schedule a follow up. If for any reason this application, doesn't get approved or it's rated in any way where the price changes, I will, just switch you to your next best company. So I kind of already set them up also for if I have to pivot somewhere else because I just, with as many people as I talk to in a day, I found a lot of people forget about things in their medical report. They don't know something's in their medical report, declines happen, and then I don't want to be too stuck on like, this is what you needed to have. This was the best absolute option, and there's no other good option. And then right from there, I just jump into an application and fill it out.
Okay. And you're just going through it. Then maybe there you might build a little bit more rapport because I mean it's just habit because you're waiting for screens to load. Okay, so
Yes.
go through it now. Let's do if you don't mind, I would love like maybe like three objections, right? So you say okay, one you say it's going to be 20,000 for $100 a month. I go, I don't know if we can make that work right now. I don't
Mhm.
think so. And you would go,
I'll be like, okay, that's fine. 20,000 is what I felt like, would have been a good place to start for you, but something's always better than nothing. And I never want to I'm not in the business of taking food off your table. So let's look at maybe 15,000. You can tell me what that sounds like. And then that's, $80 a month. I'm like, does that sound like it might fit your budget a little bit better? And then
okay,
usually they're like, "Okay, that one," or they're like, "No, that's still a little too high," and then I'll adjust down again. I'm not in the business of taking food off someone's table or setting them up for something that they're gonna cancel in 2 months. So I've already had, like, a solid yes when I'm getting into my application, and then starting it, and then, yes, to answer your other question, I do kind of that's where I build my rapport because that's when you're starting to ask personal questions, so you need to make them a little at ease and comfortable. Um, and, I mean, applications are very quick. That takes me about 5 minutes.
sure. Okay, so you give 20,000. I go silent for 15 seconds and I go, well, Mara, this has been great. We really need to think about it right now.
Mhm. So in a situation like that, I'm like, okay, I completely understand. It's something you want to, look at the financials, go over the budget. Um, Honestly, I don't even know 100% for sure if you're approved for this product. You told me you take this medicine, and this medicine. This was just my educated guess. So I would hate, to tell you, send you off with this price and this amount, and then you come back, we do the application, and we have to completely switch gears and go somewhere else. So I'm not in the business of making you pay something today. I just want to make sure you're comfortable and covered. So let's just do the application, make sure you're actually qualified. That way we can get you out some paperwork to read over. And then you can, if you have to adjust for any reason, just let me know. I can always go up or down in coverage, and then I usually go over their grace period, the 30-day grace period. Um, and the companies do allow you to go up in coverage or down during that period of time. You pretty much just sign paperwork. So I'm like, you're not set in stone right now. We can always change it if we have to.
Solid. Okay, Mara, I really appreciate you showing me these numbers, but I'm gonna shop around a little bit.
Okay, I'd be like, like I said, I do work with, pretty much every A-rated carrier in the state that they deem A plus rated, I'm gonna have access to. So if I'm being honest with you, I don't really know where else you're going to shop. Because I'm pulling everything for you already, and then I'll typically name off some companies, like I have this, I have that, I have that. So I'm pretty much doing all the heavy lifting for you to figure out what's going to be cheapest. And based on what you just told me, this is what's cheapest. Now, you may have heard Colonial Penn on TV or something, but that's just a number. You're talking to me and you told me you take this, you take this. I usually will explain like other types of policies. So there's really nowhere else to shop that's going to have a custom rate for you that's already calculated based on your health, your age.
Solid. I think I have a policy from my bank actually.
Um, I always say, policies through a bank are, great. They're usually free or they're something very, very minimal in price. I obviously don't work for the bank, so I don't know 100% what you have, and I'm not going to say I know, but typically they're just a form of accidental insurance or a very, very small basic coverage. Um, so you're definitely going to want to look at something that's more of like a guaranteed payout, something that you own through an actual insurance company. It's a little more reputable for life insurance. Companies that specialize in life insurance is where you're going to want to have your life insurance, obviously.
All right, last one. That was great. I have my husband has a policy from work. I think we're both covered under that.
So I say, yeah, I get that a lot. Pretty much everybody is covered, through some type of work insurance. The general statistic that I've heard going around is there's like a less than 2% chance of work insurance paying out just because. It's typically accidental insurance. It typically is something that's only paying out for liability reasons. It's something that's not permanent because you tend to lose that whether you quit, get fired, retire, whatever it may be. If you part ways with the company, you tend to lose that insurance. And then you're stuck looking for it, doing exactly what we're doing right now, 10 years from now, when you may not qualify or you're 10 years more expensive. So it's definitely something you're going to want to consider doing now so you have something that is owned by you, you have your own hands on, and it's not going to change later.
It's good. It's like a company car, right? You don't take it with you when you retire.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that was drop an MM in the chat for low for a little for Mara for a little rapid fire Q&A or rapid fire objection handling. That was excellent. All right, so let's go and close it out, right? So we're putting the application in, ding's approved. What are we saying, and then how are we solidifying the end of that call, and then what are your follow-up processes post sale?
So it's a little different depending on what just happened. Typically, I'm not off. I'm like assuming it's approved. I say, okay, great. If you could just grab pen and paper, I'm going to give you things to write down. I love having people physically write something down because they remember it better. I have them write down their policy number, the amount they're paying monthly, the name of the company, my phone number and name again. I even have them write down the name of the bank draft. So, like for example, Prosperity. When they draft you, it doesn't say Prosperity Life Group; it says SBLI.USA.
Yeah,
I've had people call me and chew me out saying like, "Who's drafting my bank account? You said this, it's that." I like them to have everything they could possibly have. Makes them feel a little more secure. And then I tell them, your policy is going to show up in, I think I say 10 to 14 business days. Give it a little extra depending on, mail's always delayed. If you don't see it for any reason, please call me, text me, and then I'm going to set a note to touch base with you in 3 weeks. You should have something by then, and then I can ask you questions since you would have already read it. You let me know if you have any issues, you need to change anything. And obviously, if you need anything in the meantime, please reach out to me. That can be a little different if I have somebody in underwriting. I have to follow up with them in a couple business days. But that's typically is writing everything down so they know exactly what's happening and then letting them know I will touch base with them, pretty much right when their policy is showing up.
perfect. Now, any texts you send or emails you send using any services? Anything you do to help nurture?
Um, Typically, I'm having them write everything down, and then I will sometimes send over just like pretty much what I had them write down. I send it to them again in a text message so they can save it in their phone. Um, and then I let them know as well when we're on the phone call, save my number while we're on the phone so you have it. You already have my business card, so it has all my information on there if you want to save that. Um, and then I just have them make sure that I'm locked in into their phone because a lot of agents, 9 times out of 10, when I'm talking to someone, if they say they have a policy and I ask who it's with or who their agent is, they have no idea. Um, so I make sure they have all my contact info because that's, a really big point of reference is just making sure they have someone to contact when they have questions rather than just getting frustrated, calling a company and canceling. So those are my two main contact points is right after we get off the phone and then right after they review their policy, but I make sure they have all of my information saved.
Solid. Now, in a virtual world, people are opting into more than one thing, or they're just looking for sometimes more than one quote, regardless of how good we do. Anything you say to solidify yourself as their broker to kind of ward off from them talking to anyone else?
So usually like with my closing, I'll say something along the lines of, I did the absolute best that I feel like I could for you in this situation. We went through all these different companies. We found the one that is best suited to you for your specific needs. If get any other phone calls, there tends to be a lot of, salesy calls that are coming in, especially for insurance and things like that. If anyone else is reaching out to you asking you questions, I would recommend that you just give me a call and, ask me or, run it by me what they're saying, what they're offering. And, I can clarify anything that they're trying to, push you into. I usually let them know about like the contestability periods and things where it's not ideally smart to be switching insurances here and there. Once you're locked into something, you really want to solidify in with that company. So, the longer your relationship is, the smoother things will be when the time comes that something happens.
Good. Mara, you're just so good. You're just smooth. You're a smooth operator. You're less. It's automatic, right? It's what you do all day long, right? It should be good. And so this has been a pleasure. Any final words, insight, tips, mindset, special drinks you drink, any food you only eat salmon on Tuesdays. Like anything other tips that we as the masses out here are looking to kind of follow in your footsteps. Any other final tips, advice you've got for us?
Would say my biggest advice, and this is mostly geared towards, I'd say new agents, but honestly, everybody is just don't be discouraged so easily. This is sales. There's going to be good weeks, there's going to be bad weeks. Everybody starts at a different pace, everybody learns at a different pace. One of the biggest things I've come to realize is you do not realize when you're having a bad day how that translates onto the phone. If you're frustrated, if you're really in need for a sale, the clients pick up on that energy, I feel like. And it tends to be like the more you want it and the more irritated, frustrated, amped up you are, the less you're going to get it. So you just need to, relax, take a breath, things will come, naturally eventually. Um, you just kind of got to let the process play out, get comfortable. There's going to be bad weeks, there's going to be slow weeks. And there's going to be good weeks. So that would be my biggest tip is just to kind of, you know, be self-aware when you're speaking to your clients and just know it's a process and it's a long game and everyone's going to get where they need to be eventually.
It's awesome. Well, Mara, thank you. Everyone, drop your favorite emoji, an some fireballs, some sort of praise to Mara. Thank you so much for coming on today. This was
Thank you for having me.
eye-opening. Your work ethic is something to be modeled after, right? It's we've got multiple blueprints, right? You can produce at this level, produce at this level, or produce at Mara's level, and it's all possible at our FFL. And we're so grateful to have you as part of our company and to be able to learn from you and also to continue to partner with you here now and in the future. So thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you in Dallas and it's going to be a great 2024. So thank you so much.
Thank you.